Welcome to The Explainer. We're going to jump right into a question that's, pretty central to faith. How does an infinite, all-powerful God actually make himself known to us, to finite, everyday people? We're going to explore this whole idea of divine revelation, all based on our source material.
All right, so here's the big question right up front. How in the world can a limitless divine being get a message across to us, to limited mortal humans? Let's unpack the framework our source gives to try and answer that.
So the answer to that huge question really boils down to one single powerful word: revelation. Seriously, this one concept is the key that unlocks this whole way of thinking. So let's get crystal clear on what it actually means.
Okay, so the word itself comes from the Greek apocalypsis, which literally means an unveiling or a disclosure. Now, this is a really important distinction because it's not about us humans discovering God on our own, like some kind of cosmic scavenger hunt. Nope. The idea is that it's God's move. He's the one actively pulling back the curtain to show us who he is.
And here's a direct quote from our source that puts it perfectly. It's about God communicating truths that are just completely outside our grasp. It's stuff we would have no way of figuring out for ourselves.
So, if God is unveiling himself, how does that actually happen? Well, our source material says this communication comes through two main channels, two really distinct ways. Let's take a look at the first one.
All right, first up is a type of revelation that's not just for one group of people or stuck in one ancient book. No, this one's for everybody, everywhere, all the time.
And the biggest example of this? Just look around you. The natural world. The idea here is that everything, from the mind-boggling scale of the universe to the insane complexity of our own bodies, is like a constant, universal message from God about his power and existence.
Our source actually breaks this down into three main channels. You've got nature, which we just talked about. Then there's providence, which is this idea of God kind of guiding the course of history and our own lives. And finally, there's conscience, that little voice inside all of us that gives us a sense of right and wrong.
So the main takeaway here is that this kind of general knowledge is everywhere all the time. According to this view, it's enough to show us God's power and hold us accountable for, acknowledging him. But, and this is a really big but, it has its limits. And that limitation, well, that's exactly what brings us to the second, much more focused kind of revelation. This second type is called special revelation. And unlike that broad message you see in nature, this one has a laser-sharp focus. It's seen as absolutely necessary for what our source calls salvation, which is all about fixing that broken relationship between people and God.
Now, this special revelation is said to come in two forms that are completely intertwined. First, through the person of Jesus Christ, called the living incarnate Word. Basically, God revealed in human flesh. And second, through the Bible, called the living written Word, the official record of God's revelation.
Okay, so we've got general and special revelation. Let's put them side by side, because seeing them compared directly really makes their different jobs and what they accomplish just pop. This chart is awesome because it just lays it all out. You can see over here, general revelation through nature shows us God's glory. But then look over here, special revelation through Christ shows us something different. God's compassion, his plan for us. It's a fantastic breakdown of what each path is designed to reveal. So let's just boil it down to the end result. General revelation, it shows God's power and makes us accountable. Special revelation, that reveals God's personal plan to bring us back to him. It's kind of like one path shows you that an incredible artist exists, but the other path actually introduces you to the artist and explains their masterpiece. So why get so hung up on these two categories? I mean, why is this distinction so important in the first place? What's the big deal? Well, here's the bottom line. According to the source, general revelation is amazing. It's everywhere, but it's not enough to solve what theology calls the problem of sin, that separation from God. Think about it. Watching a beautiful sunset might convince you there's a powerful creator, but it can't tell you how to be reconciled to him. And that is exactly why special revelation, especially what our source calls the God-breathed scriptures, is seen as absolutely essential. It's basically presented as the roadmap, the clear, reliable guide you need to understand salvation and how to get back into a right relationship with God.
Which leaves us with this final thought to chew on. This whole framework of a general and a special revelation, it's not just some dusty theological concept. It's really a lens. It's a way of seeing the entire world and the words in the Bible, not as two separate things, but as two different, complementary ways that an infinite God has decided to make himself known to us.